property-wide theme overtaking the Coffinverse in 2023.
Greetings, boils and ghouls. It's your boy, Brian Pulido, proud publisher of Coffin Comics. Welcome to Beer with Brian, a program of the Coffin Comics Sworn Club. This is Beer with Brian for March. Can you believe it? We're at the end of March. I can't believe it. Time flies. One thing I've known for being in comics publishing for close to 32 years is, man, time flies on a publishing schedule because there's always a deadline. So Beer with Brian is an informal conversation between you and I. Questions are encouraged. I'm going to pontificate about pop culture musings of the moment, but you are welcome to ask questions. My first musing is probably like many of us out there. I finished up the final episode of The Last of Us. I'm not a game player, so I didn't even know the game existed, to be candid with you, maybe like way on the outskirts of, my consciousness. So knowing that it was post-apocalyptic story and with zombie-like invasive species, I was all about it. So Francisca and I watched it. I thought it was phenomenal from beginning to end. Incredible, outrageous. I loved it. I love the end. I love the moral ambiguity of the end. I can't wait for season 2. And beginning this Sunday, Francisca and I are going to watch it all again in order one more time. Guess another thing that's happening in pop culture for a lot of us is this Friday night is the debut of John Wick 4. Got my tickets, man. We love those John Wick movies ever since the beginning. That first one, thought the second one was even better. So I hear great things about the fourth one, so I will be there. I guess another musing for me personally is I am personally leading the charge of the story that we are telling for 2024. So 2024, the one hint I could give you is 2024 is Leia's 30th anniversary. So imagining this really stellar, wild, amazing, incredible anniversary, we need to tell a story that rises to that occasion. So that's what your boy's been working on. Myself and Mike McLean worked on the outline beginning in September of last year, all the way through right in the new year. And I personally am taking lead. So probably as of tomorrow, I will finish my draft of Lady Death Chapter 19. Would it be 19? It's 19. I won't tell you the name. I'm not going to tell you the theme of the year, but it should be fun. So I'd love to open this up to any questions you guys and gals may have.
Okay, we got one here. But first of all, we got a lot of folks watching. We've got Don Cheadle.
Don.
He's joining us.
Welcome back.
We got Dan. He's saying, what's up, everybody?
Dan, what's up?
Trent is in the house.
Trent.
Michael.
Trent.
We got Matt S.
Matthew Stapleton. I know who that is.
Got Eric Hart in the house.
Matthew Stapleton, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. You know that KISS just announced its last 50 dates of touring. Are you going to go see a KISS show for the closeout? Anyway.
Bob Cronister in the house.
Bob, hello. Eric Hart, hello. Greetings all.
Julio Cortez.
Julio.
We got Mike Madigan from Detroit.
Mike Madigan.
Yeah, Philip Hom.
Philip.
And let's see what we got here. Okay, here we go. So Eric Hart's asking, now that the Fiends are starting to prepare for Sportfest, I was wondering if Coffin Comics will be reserving a block of rooms at the hotel for us. And if so, when can we expect to make reservations?
I think so. The answer is yes. Room blocks are going to happen to the main hotel, which is the Delta. And I believe that will be announced sometime in the next couple of weeks. Behind the scenes, we're definitely working with the Delta on that. Francisca Pulido actually is in charge of that element of what we're doing, but we're aware of it, of course, and we're on it. And the announcement should be coming forthwith.
Yeah, we also got Troy Hudson in the house.
Troy, what up?
So Stolen Zombie wants to know, what would happen if Lady Death killed John Wick's dog?
Well, I think John would be picking the wrong battle. We love John. He's the man. First of all, I don't think Lady Death would kill a dog because unless it attacked her. And John Wick's cute little dog was not an aggressive dog. So I just don't see that hypothetical probably wouldn't come to pass because you'll notice one thing about Lady Death is she will bring down harsh judgment, but she doesn't do it on the innocent. She never has, she never will, she never did. So that little doggy is innocent.
Mike Madigan is saying, I'm a huge Kiss fan, and I'm going to see the last show of theirs in Chicago.
Fantastic. Great venue. Yes, Francisco and I will absolutely be seeing one of the last Kiss shows. There is no doubt. We love Kiss. I guess, it's nice too with, the pandemic sort of settling down. We're kind of back chugging away. Like we got tickets for all these upcoming shows because that's what we love to do. I mean, for me personally, I'm going to have tickets for Mastodon Gojira coming up. Iggy Pop in Las Vegas coming up. Beck. We got a lot of tickets coming up. We have Metallica in the fall, of course, and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, always on the lookout for what's next.
So Dan Wintermoon is asking,
hey, Dan.
When you're reading comics in your own time, what music do you listen to, and do you have your own dedicated reading area?
Well, that's a great question. I have several dedicated reading areas, and I do not listen to music when I read comics. I don't listen to music when I write comics. I don't listen to music when I work at all. So strange but true. Yeah, I just require silence. And particularly, I would not listen to music that has lyric while I'm working because it just competes with the thoughts, or at least it's out there. So my two main rooms is I have a study in my home where I'm able to read my comics, and I probably do my most comic reading in my bed. Right before I go to sleep, I have the comics out there, and I have a endless stack of comics to read. Some of the comics I've read recently, Marvel had an imprint called the Icon Line, and the writer Jason Aaron did a comic with Ron Garvey called Men of Wrath, and it's super hard-boiled crime fiction. So I read that, and that was quite enjoyable. I have a massive stack. I've got a series of number ones that I picked up that are recent, mostly from Boom Studios. And I read the first issue of a comic called Behold Behemoth. And I'm very intrigued by it. The art is phenomenal, very interesting, and I have no idea where it's going just yet. So that's the area where I read my comics.
Matt S. said, I saw Kiss last two times when they came to Phoenix, and that's all I'll be able to partake, but I hope Madison Square Garden will be streamed.
Yeah, can you imagine that? That'd be really cool. So there's the two Madison Square Garden shows, December 1 and December 2. I admit to you, I try to get tickets. Like I'm a Kiss Army fan club member, so I try to get tickets, and it was one of those weird things where, like, I show up ahead of time, I get in the queue. When I'm finally able to get on, like 45 minutes later, literally every ticket is gone. And then now, if you look at the aftermarket on the tickets, like even the nosebleeds are $1,000. So it's like, I love Kiss, but I don't think I love them that much. I love them that much, but I just can't wrap my head around it. So we're looking at alternatives.
Cal Razor said, I saw Kiss last year at Download, and they were incredible again.
How great, man, to be at Download. That's cool. That's kind of a bucket list thing, to be at Download one day. So cool.
Let's see who else here. So Philip's asking for Swornfest next year. Do you know which artists will be appearing?
Why, yes, I do, and I'm not going to tell you. We're going to unravel who the guests are as time goes on. There'll be a lot of announcements between now and next year where we will unveil guests. I guess the first guest I could say is I will definitely be there. I will be at Swornfest, so I'm the first announced guest. The Coffin crew will also be there, so they are the next announced guests. And yeah, more to come. Enjoy the process, the unveiling of who's going to be there and the what and the why and the exclusives and all that stuff is just a lot of fun.
Mike is asking, do you see Lady Satanas and Chaotica being separate Kickstarters, or would they maybe be together?
Well, I do see those two characters being separate Kickstarters. So Lady Satanas, Sinister Urge may very well be coming to Kickstarter in mid-June. That'll be a 48-page story, covers by a who's who. The lineup is the following. Myself and Mike McLean wrote it. Omar Zalvadar drew it. Hedwin Zalvadar did the color. And right now, as we speak, Marshall Dillon is doing the lettering. So we're eyeballing June. Chaotica, we're eyeballing in September. Written by Mike and myself, and more information about that project as we get closer. So that's how I see that. And I don't know if anyone else had any questions.
Matt is asking, any estimated time another artist will be out at HQ?
Well, that's a great question. Thank you for asking. So I do believe that on April 14th, we are going to have the Sora Sung Artist Celebration. That's right. We're bringing Sora Sung out from her native Pennsylvania to HQ, and we will have a live event at HQ on Saturday, April 15th, I believe it is. But that's not all. There will be at least 2 more additional artist celebrations live at HQ in 2023. Announcements coming soon.
Did we already ask this one about your favorite ash can cover?
Oh my gosh. Favorite ash can that we ourselves produced, or generally speaking?
What's your favorite ash can for Lady Death? So
Oh, wow. Okay. Gosh, it's almost like the latest one is the most fun. Yeah, I like them all. I mean, we play to win every time. Like every single solitary time, whatever I put out, I want it to be great. So my objective is for it to be wonderful. I look at it and go, good job, move on.
Stolen Zombie wants to know, is there a chronological order to how you read the comics in the Coffin verse?
There is a chronological order to how you read comics in the Coffin verse, and it goes by chapter, and it also goes by publishing year. So, for example, Lady Death currently, we just completed a Kickstarter for number 17, chapter 17. So you could read her story in linear order, chapter 1 through 17. And then you would actually intercut the stories of La Muerta and Hell Witch, or even Tales of the Coffin verse, based on the year. So that's the simplest way to read them. And yes, it all counts. And yes, there's Easter eggs in all. And yes, one item relates to another item, for sure. It's a universe.
Dan wants to know, do you see, will we see Lady Virtue again in the future?
Well, that's a great question. And the story came out and it appears as if Lady Virtue died. But this is what I would say back. That Lady Virtue was developed in a laboratory. So the idea of like Lady Virtue V2, I could see very, very easily happen.
All right, so this one from Eric saying, we know you collect Captain America, but what about, is there anything else you collect that we might not know?
I have been going through a serious phase. Well, I'm an overall comic book collector, and it's a sickness, frankly. I totally get a sense of what it must be like to be a heroin addict, because I see certain comics. When I see the comic book trade dress of the 70s in particular, it's got to be like, this is a drug-like experience where I get transfixed and I have to have them. So I do collect everything, and I collect right now. My passion has been collecting Western comics, war comics, and obscure Marvel 70s comics. So, we all know the big wig comic books that Marvel produced, like Avengers, Hulk, Spidey, Cap, right? But particularly in the 70s, they did a lot of just interesting obscure titles. Frequently, they were reprints of other books, but they would have beautiful covers on them. Some obscure examples, Combat Kelly, it's a war comic book. Night Nurse, sort of obscure. Jungle Action. So these types of comics have a real appeal for me. So that's true of like 70s Marvel and 70s DC. So 70s DC would be stuff like Claw the Conqueror or Warlord. So some of these kinds of books. I also am like a big time vintage Monster magazine collector. I don't even talk about it that much. It's sort of like the air that I breathe. It's like, well, obviously I'm collecting vintage Monster comics, magazines. And to me, the sweet spot is between 1958 and about 1968, 69. That's the classic Monster Kid era. I think right after that, it started getting lame. And then before that, it just didn't quite form. So, man, I collect a lot of stuff. I also like designer toys. I guess I'd be one of those people generally that I enjoy collecting. My focus is definitely comic books and magazines, but anything that really attracts my eye, I like to include into my collection. And it's a lot of what you kind of imagine. I do like horror, I like sci-fi, that kind of stuff. I like anything old Marvel stuff. So yes, that kind of
Eric
stuff.
mentioned I personally love Golden Age Archie books.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, yeah, it's all like you get it in your mind and it's hard to get out. Like again, 70s Marvel Monster comics. And those are largely reprints of comics when Marvel was Atlas Comics. It was a different time during the 50s. You know, they reproduced them, but again, they're so cool and so wonderful.
Dave wants to know, will Coffin be coming to San Francisco or, Bay Area sometime soon?
Well, Dave, I don't think so. I mean, I guess our stated appearances for the balance of this year go as follows. We will do Phoenix Fan Fusion, June 2nd. Comic-Con International in San Diego in mid-July. I think it's about July 17th. And the Tucson Comic-Con, September 1, 2, 3. And that is the con that myself and Francisca Pulido own. And then Memphis Comic-Con, September 22nd or 3rd. That's our stated cons for 2023. Now, I am looking at doing some more cons in 2024, if only because it's Leia's 30th anniversary and maybe it's time to get out there and connect again. And I don't know where I'm going to land. I know that in principle, I would love to go to Texas. It's just been forever, you know?
Jason Hart is saying that
Hey, Jason.
Let's keep the music questions going. And you once told him you love country music or enjoyed it as well. So who's your favorite country? Who do you go to for country?
Well, I mean, hands down for like male country, Johnny Cash throughout his entire career. Phenomenal. He's kind of like the Bruce Springsteen of country, I guess, you know, just a great storyteller. Really like him. Waylon Jennings, I would have to say too. And then a lot of the female singers of yesteryear, like, gosh, I'm blanking right now. Help me. Patsy Cline, you know, would be a big example. So I veer towards, I'm not a big fan of like the current pop type country, but I do like outlaw type country. So the contemporary outlaw-ish kind of, which has a rock vibe. So that could be Hank 3, you know, might be included in that list. Anything outlaw, Earl, what's his name? That kind of stuff.
Trent's asking, are you planning on any new patch sets soon?
Well, thank you for asking. We are definitely going to do a new patch set. We have an upcoming Kickstarter for La Muerta, Devious, on May 10th, Wednesday, and we will do a patch set for La Muerta. And it features a beautiful giant custom back piece by Joel Gomez. And it'll be filled out by other art and other cool text. I am also considering, because it's kind of the road to Swornfest, we want everybody to come and represent. In the August Lady Death, I might offer again our original Coffin Crew set and or our first Lady Death set slightly modified. That way people can just patch it up, patch it up, patch it up. And we just announced today, if you backed our last campaign, Chapter 17, that our 500K free bonus item was a mystery. Excuse me, but we announced what it is. It's actually a 3-inch Lady Death Rules patch. So it's in production right now. It's pretty great.
Okay. Keith in Comics wants to know, are you going to use any other platform besides Kickstarter?
You know, so far, Kickstarter works very well for us, and we're in contact with Kickstarter management, and we kind of get it for whatever reason, having used it 32, 33 times. So I think for right now, we're going to stick with our store, offering comics through Diamond, and Kickstarter as our chosen crowdfunding vehicle.
George is saying, I have a weird War Tales #1, not in the best condition, but be willing to trade it.
Ah, well, not bragging on you, but I definitely have a weird War Tales #1 in like effing great condition. I did a trade up. You ever do that? Like I had a beaten down one and I just got a better one last spring. So, but thank you for your offer. I love all my comics. Like I have some beaten up comics, or I will shop also for beaten up comics. So for example, the way I collect Western comics from Marvel, I don't mind what shape they're in. Like reader copy, it's fine. I don't care. The only thing I really will pay attention to in terms of condition are the #1s. But then, you know, since I'm just filling out my collection, I'm happy with reader copies. I love them. I mean, I even go out of my way. I've bought coverless comics or halfway, they all comics need love, man. I'll sometimes go I'll go to a comic show and I'll just see this comic and I'm like, I think this comic's a little beaten up, but it needs some love, so it's coming home with me. That's actually how I feel about it.
Bob wants to know, what's the oldest comic you have?
The oldest comic I probably possess is some Golden Age Captain America, like number 43 or something at this point. Something like that. That's probably my oldest comic.
We got Jetman in the house.
What's up, Robert?
Trent is saying, hoping you guys come to Ocean City, Maryland one day.
I think the closest we would come to Ocean City, Maryland would be Baltimore Comic-Con. I've definitely gone to Baltimore Comic-Con in the past, and it is a show that I could likely be to sometime in the future.
Bad Mojo is asking, any news on the Lady Death PVCs?
The Lady Death PVCs are, the Lady Death, La Muerta, and Hell Witch are rounding out production, meaning the sculpt on La Muerta is just about done. The other ones are done, and then they're going to go to paint. I think that this project might go into 2024. We'll see. It just has to be right. Our full-time gig and the thing we focus on are the comics. We do put a lot of time and attention when we do the other 3D objects. So maybe it'll carry over into 2024 as an offering. But we are going to be offering a J. Scott Campbell cover of Lady Death as a statue. I didn't say that right. J. Scott Campbell did a cover Lady Death back in 2001. We have brought that image to life as a statue that has been overseen and looked at by Scott himself as well. Much more on that coming up in the next 2 months. That is definitely coming in the summer.
CPN Rob is asking, any updates on the La Muerta 1/12 figure?
Okay, 1/12, so that's the little action figure. It's any moment now. Like, we have had behind the scenes, we're probably going to offer La Muerta as part of a 3-pack. So the characters that are in production right now are La Muerta Chaotica and Lady Satanas. And I think they're going to all be offered at the same time. And it could be at any moment now. I think the next 3D item that we're going to be offering is a 12-inch Hell Witch done in the same style as Executive Replica has done for La Muerta and Lady Death. That kind of like, it's an action figure, but the skin is like amazing. So that's coming up.
Does time in Coffin vs. Hell pass at the same rate as on Earth?
It's a very interesting question. And I would say that it does. I think the way my mind has worked is they are in sync. And the reason I say that is it's something I hadn't really considered, but I'm actually was working on a scene today that involves certain characters in Hell, and it does seem to link up to what's going on Earth in terms of time having passed.
Dave's asking, how do you store all your comics? Because he's got storage limits.
I think inevitably we all have storage limits, and I do too. Like, I have a limited amount of space. So I don't know about you guys and gals, but I sometimes get very excited and I want to get runs of stuff. So I have been doing that. And then I got to remind myself, I really only have a limited amount of space for my comic collection. So I went a little crazy in the last calendar year, and I picked up every comic involved in the original Marvel Annihilation storyline. And then a friend of mine was selling some Thunderbolts. So it's like, yeah, dude, I'll buy the whole set from you, this kind of stuff. And then I realized I really, really, really am down to my last empty half box. So I got to be careful. So I store them in BCW half boxes, and they're all cataloged. They're categorized. I have a whole processing system where every comic that comes in, is staged. It has to be recorded, what I paid for it, the condition, all that kind of stuff, and then it's filed, or it's noted that it's not filed. There's a file for not filed comics. So yeah, I get into all that stuff.
What's your favorite steakhouse in Phoenix? Eric's asking.
Eric, so if you're asking for yourself, when you're out here, I would treat myself. We have so many good steakhouses, but if you can, go to downtown Phoenix and go to Durant's. It's right in downtown Phoenix, and it's amazing. It's one of those crazy places where you actually walk in through the kitchen. Super old school Italian place. Its heyday was probably the 50s. Still makes great steaks. We have so many good places for steak. It's a total meat eater area here in Phoenix.
Troy saying he's hearing from rumblings that people would like to see a window decal.
Okay, cool. I saw that too. I mean, I'll look into it for the next Lady Death. I mean, what the reality of window decals are, they're not cheap either, right? So that might even be like $3, $4, $5 thing. So I'll look into them. You know, maybe it could be a free bonus, but it would have to like represent like 200,000 or 300,000. But I'd look into it. I do think it's over time for us to do that.
So Brandon is noticing mystery boxes are available at a more consistent basis. Can we continue to expect this moving forward?
I think as long as people enjoy the mystery boxes, we'll offer them, you know, and we try to keep them exciting and interesting and regular. So we will offer them as long as people like them.
Okay, we got a couple more minutes here. So a couple more questions. Oops, where'd that one go? Trent's asking, how do you feel personally about grading comics?
I feel great about grading comics. This is my view on it. However people collect comic books is fine for them. This is how I collect comic books. I like to collect them to collect them. I like to collect them and read them. I like to collect them, and I do like to encapsulate them in plastic to have them forever. So I've heard arguments where people think it's an any or thing. It's like, well, I like to read my comics. I don't like them in plastic. It's like, okay, cool. That's for you. I like it all, you know, so I believe the great majority of my comics are simply in bags and boards, but I'm very happy to have a couple of hundred books that are slab, including, and I'm bragging, a Purgatory #1, 10, Lady Death 199. You know, so I'm happy to have stuff like that encapsulated. And I do think it's a good preservation technique. If I'd also say that, you know, I do have some Captain America Golden Age, and they're purchased from reputable dealers, and they're encapsulated. And that's good. I can read the comic books in collected omnibuses that have restored color and very bright and vibrant colors. And I believe that's even a superior experience or a different experience. But having these old books that are 50, 60 years old encapsulated in plastic kind of helps them live on forever. So I'm down with it. And if you're not down with it, I'm fine with that too. Because again, collecting's a personal thing. How you do it is your business. You know, I don't like to enforce my views on people in terms of how to collect. That's just how I like to collect.
All right, looks like time's up.
Hey, just want to tell you this. You guys have been great. I've been Brian Pulido. And thank you for attending Beer with Brian, a program of the Coffin Comics Sworn Club. Holler at you later.